Hey, baby.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good.
What's giving you hope these days?
You know that I can be imperfect and still be loved.
What a word
Isn't that
is
something?
that? I enjoy that. It's actually one of the things we're talking about,
No way.
honestly. All month long, we're talking about hope for love. It's February, the month of love, but we wanted to make it less about romance and more about the realities of just being a person. And when I think about the realities of being a person, one of the things that I have struggled with is loving my imperfections. Loving who I am as a complete picture. And so one of the things that I would like to explore with you one of the things I'd like to explore with you is hope for love of our imperfections. And I thought it'd be really cool if we invited some people who I love because they're imperfect. And if you're going to have a conversation about imperfect people, why not invite your siblings to be a part of it? Because certainly they understand that Dexter, Lala, as imperfect as you all are.
Very much so.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
What's giving you hope these days?
Well, I'm having hope for our business and for all the things that God is going to bring through that, and us just seeing all of our vision come to fruition over our hard work and planning and all of those things.
Yes. Lala, what about you?
I'm hoping for gratitude to just continue to flow within us because it's been, a long journey to get here where we finally get to see each other's imperfection not as a flaw, but more so let's embrace this into a new level. And I'm hoping for our growth. Yeah.
That's beautiful. When I saw these two imperfect people,
Why you keep saying that?
I saw these two imperfect souls apart from one another. I said to myself, you know what would make them perfect if they were together? I'm not trying to take ownership of their union, but I did know both of them before they knew each
You were
other.
pretty instrumental.
She played a role.
You called it.
One of the things that has really united our families, because we know Lala's family as well, is really our love for cooking. And so we thought while discussing the hope that we have to learn to love our imperfections, honoring the imperfections that we may see in one another, it would be fun while also making a pizza, which honestly has its own imperfect story.
Yeah.
Babe, what happened? Do you know?
We went to warm the oven up to prepare our process of making this pizza, and it almost exploded. There was something in there. It almost caught fire, and so we can't use the oven anymore.
Yes. Let me say, this is not our home. We're renting a beautiful space to really create this content. The bottom of the oven was imperfect. Some things that dripped down on the bottom. And so with the help of Google, I learned about skillet pizza crust, in which you cook it in the skillet, and then once the dough is cooked, you put the toppings on, and then we're going to put it back in the skillet. So here we are.
So what the enemy meant for evil,
God.
He do it.
Because it's all flowing together now, okay?
Yes.
So we're going to make a pizza. You'll notice that there are two sets of ingredients here because these imperfect people brought their own specialty ingredients because part of their business, honestly, they make the most delicious food.
God.
They have their own YouTube channel, the Jakes Juniors, in which they dish out all of the recipes, which I would never do because I'm imperfect. If you like something I cook, you got to ask me to make it because I don't want you to be independent. It's that codependency still in my spirit. But they don't want that for you. They want you to be independent. So they have their own cooking show and they have their own fancy ingredients. And we're going to make pizza and we're going to pray that they aren't imperfect when they're finished. My hope is that this imperfect pizza is going to be made perfect in the process of time.
Because at the end of the day, there is the element of presentation.
There is.
But then when you're hungry,
don't even matter. There comes a point when you're so hungry that it doesn't matter how God blesses you.
Oh my.
You just want the blessing.
Yes.
Come on, somebody. Okay, so let's start. One of the things I want to know while I'm minding your business, though, is when is the first time you all realized an imperfection about the other? You can answer this question too, lightly, but you can answer it.
You want me to answer it?
Yeah.
Start off. I am remembering a time early on in our courtship
Okay.
where you know, when I every time that I'd seen you, you had on makeup.
Or mine.
And this one particular day, you decided you're not going to wear any makeup and you were going to let me see you fully for as you were. And at that time, that was before you really got into that deep skincare. And so you did have a couple of imperfections on your face.
Yeah.
But for me, it actually made me fall deeper in love with you because you had the courage and the confidence to show me yourself. And that just, it made you even more beautiful to me.
You know what's funny about that is I can't even say that I was at this place where I was like, you know, my skin doesn't bother me and, you know, I'm just going to show up because it doesn't bother me. It actually did bother me. But I also felt like I don't have time to pretend to be someone else to be in a relationship. So yes, I can glam up and it can get real around here. But it can also get real in another way. And I did it nervous and afraid, but also confident not in how you would react, but confident that I would be okay regardless of the reaction. Because if you couldn't handle that part of me, then maybe you weren't the one for me.
Yeah, and that would have been true. And I think it had the very opposite effect on me. I was like, first of all, you trusted me with a vulnerability,
Yeah.
for one. Two, your bravery, your courage to love yourself enough to say, this is me. That just, I feel harder.
Yeah.
I feel harder.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Falling.
Now look.
Now look at you.
I fell all the way out. It's out.
What about you two?
Didn't fall out.
So before we even started dating, Lala came over to the house because we were celebrating Christmas as a family, and she came through. And it was right after she cut her hair.
Oh, yeah.
And
Big chop.
yeah, it was the big chop. And it was actually right after I started to cut my hair. And I think initially she came in and I noticed it and I was like, oh, your hair looks beautiful. Now at this point, we weren't really on that type of level. So this was the first compliment, you know. I was,
Right. Because she had just come as a family friend, my family friend.
Right.
And yeah,
Stole her from us.
he did.
absolutely, I had to do that. It's okay. But she reacted a little bit off. She was like very offended.
Are you? Oh, well, you know what? You can blame the boys for that because I think they put you through it when you cut your hair. But okay, you were offended.
I was, because it was right when we got in the house. That's the first interaction I have. It's, wow, you're also having the big chop. I love it. You look beautiful. And I thought for some reason at that moment he was joking with me. Like, you know, I'm making fun of you. And it's like, you know, just don't be that kind of person. I'm just now seeing you. And apparently he was like, no, I'm very serious. You look very beautiful.
I did not know this.
Then for a minute I stopped and I looked at him and I saw it in his eyes that he was being honest. So I just decided, you know, I'm just gonna embrace this compliment and I'm gonna be okay. And that was
the first step. I think a little bit afterwards, you know, a few months later, because I locked that thing down. She was my girlfriend. We went out on a date and I was opening her doors and she got a little perturbed by that. She was like, okay, don't do this if you're not going to continue to do this.
Oh, yes, Lala.
I had a lot going on.
Very feisty early on.
Imperfections were screaming at me.
Yeah, so I understood that she was having a little bit of difficulty trusting and really having difficulty feeling a male's presence and feeling consistency from a man. So I had to let her know, I'm going to do this all the time. I do this for my nieces, my aunts, my sisters.
Never open the door for me.
I have. Don't you do that. No, that's just really the type of man that I am. So I'm not ever going to pick up something that I'm going to, you know, eventually stop doing.
You ready for filth?
You did?
Sure.
Okay, so that brings up, I think, a worthy conversation because a lot of times I have friends You were one of them they want their boo. Happy boo year. We were literally saying happy boo year, the year that you guys got together. But there is a vulnerability and a requirement to be open that comes with having someone in your life. And I feel like there is no dynamic like marriage that reveals your insecurities. Because what I hear you saying is like, ultimately, I don't want to love this. I don't want to start counting on this. And then you're going to be gone, or you're going to change and you're going to be different, which I think is trauma, because we've experienced that. Oh, that reminds
that's so deep.
Isn't that deep?
It's trauma.
When PT and I were first married, we were living in LA. I can almost remember where we were in the car driving to. Up until this point, he told me about 4 or 5 times, I'm never going to cheat on you. I'm never going to cheat on you. And I would never say anything. I didn't say it back. I was just like, And he finally was like, why is it that every time I say that, you go silent, you don't say anything? And I was like, because life happens. I don't want you making any promises, and anything can happen. And he was like, at the end of the day, your integrity can set a standard, your words can set a standard that you can live by. To think anything can happen is already setting your marriage up for failure. And so I had to really deal with the discomfort of trusting that my marriage could be a safe place.
That's so interesting, because right in the beginning of our marriage, we got married and we went through pandemic. We were faced with something that we had to immediately. So we were faced with something that we really had to be in-house together 24/7. There's no time off. There's no solo dates. I need some fresh air. And in that moment, we really got to discover one another in a deeper way. And my insecurities were allowed to be shown without judgment. They were allowed to be present without being criticized. So I think for me in that situation, it was the moment where I realized, okay, I am safe, but I can also heal in this space of past traumas that has nothing to do with him. He came in and my traumas really did nothing. He wasn't part of them, but willing to be the one to help me through that journey. I got you. We're going to go through this. And you're okay. You can show me who you are, but allow me to show you who I am. And it created this space that it's us, no matter what comes down, it's at the end of the day, I look at him and I see that honesty from your hair looks beautiful from all the way to the beginning.
And it does go.
Okay, so guys, I have a question for you. Women spend a lot of time worried about their imperfections, their body, their skin, their hair. There's a whole beauty industry that depends on us not loving ourselves. And yet you guys are talking about moments where all of those things would have been the direct opposite of what is considered beautiful, and you all found beauty in them. So how important is a woman's perceived imperfections to you?
That perception really, it's something that you almost have to battle against at certain points, because you want her to be able to accept not just the love that you're giving her, but, be able to accept yourself. We're eventually going to raise kids together. And I want you to be able to impart a good self-image on our children. So I think I wanted to battle against that for a multitude of reasons. But honestly, that perception, I just keep on chipping away at a little bit over time. So it takes a little bit of work and patience. I've definitely learned to have grace for certain instances where she may not necessarily see herself in the light that I see her.
I think because I was raised by a single mom who pulled herself up by her bootstraps. I think for me, it grieves me when I see a woman not valuing herself or believing that she's beautiful or that there's something wrong with her. And I think it's because of the way of who I was raised with. So for me, I want to crack that narrative. I'm always trying to, because I have crazy respect for women. like a unique, real value. And so for me, I mean, my whole thing is don't think like that. You the lick, you the bomb, you the stuff. And
you tell me I am beautiful in some of the most
Is it random to you?
Wig is off. White stuff is on the face for the dark spots. Yeah. And I mean, just ragged, bloated.
And I'm questioning your judgment at this moment because I don't look together, but somehow the beauty that it's like not there that we think that we don't see. I think for them, I mean, I'm speaking, for you, but it's inner beauty that shines through whatever imperfection might be on our little situation.
To a certain extent, but you really do look beautiful to me. Like, I'm trying to tell you in that moment that I'll take you however you are, whether you're made up and dolled up or you just rolled out the bed and you're just, a little crust around your... it's beautiful. Sometimes you'll just be sleeping. I'll be looking at her like, this woman I have.
Really?
She's like knocked out completely, like slobbering and all of that. Like, I'm so blessed and fortunate to be able to have this woman. And I just want her to be able to know that at all times, no matter what state she's going to be in. That's why I often will affirm her in those ways. And like you were saying, it kind of is something that you have to constantly go up against. Like, it's a personal mission to make sure that you know that you're beautiful in that way for me. I really do take it that way.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now, would you look at that?
Yep. Oh,
okay.
Yes. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what's on your pizza.
Okay, so we have a shrimp and bacon pizza with a little bit of pesto, freshly made, okay? And a little bit of chives.
You guys
for color, okay? The freshness.
Did you pick those chives from your garden this morning?
No, ours are, they're still growing. They are. Yeah, crazy thing about that, but
Wow, okay. Well, our pizza, do you want to start it? Or? Go ahead, baby. Tell them now.
What's up?
It is a pizza.
Yes.
And it pizzas because it's a pizza.
That's right.
I've never heard that.
And it's got all of the ingredients of a pizza in it, and therefore it is pizzing.
Yeah.
It's pizzing, right?
One of the qualities of our pizza is that we have flown in fresh smoked Gouda to mozzarella and Gouda to sprinkle on top.
So that it can pizza.
So that it could pizza properly. We also decided to have some versatility in the flavors to really give the palate something surprising with every bite.
Yes.
So we took the acidity from the tomatoes, but the mild taste of a Parmesan Alfredo and really mixed those two ingredients.
Yeah, we did.
Now, what I want y'all take an acidic one and a mild Parmesan one, and then put two of them over here.
Acidic and a mild.
So
there you go.
That's your portion. That's your
there you go. You're welcome.
And we'll take
okay.
Your
there you go. Appreciate you. Wow. Look at that. There it is.
It's cheesy.
Wow. This is giving Passover. It's giving do this in remembrance.
Oh my.
Skillet pizza.
I'm not mad at the skillet pizza. I like a crunch on the bottom of mine.
It's good.
Good discovery.
Before we wrap up, can you tell me, everyone, what is maybe your greatest insecurity that you have discovered is also your greatest blessing?
We'll go for?
Sure.
Well, my voice. Because
The sound of it, or
so I still don't have the deepest voice in the world, but I used to have. It took my voice a long time to change, and I used to. Oh yeah, it's a, I grew up in a neighborhood. You don't be in a neighborhood with no little high pitched voice. Sound like Michael Jackson. You don't do that. You gotta sound like Barry White in the hood. Okay. But I was giving Michael. And cats used to clown me. So I had an insecurity about my voice. I was trying to, want to be, but it wasn't me. And now look at my voice.
Now look at it.
The same thing that I despise and wish were different is now changing the lives of millions of people around the world.
Yeah, amazing.
Sometimes it be the very thing
The very thing.
that the other guy tries to make you feel inadequate about. Be the very thing that God uses to set you apart.
Wow.
You know something?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
I think maybe just in a similar vein, just speaking in general. We come from a family full of people that speak, authors, So just being able to communicate my ideas successfully is something that I was always insecure about. So I usually tended to do things that were behind the stage and wouldn't really require you to speak a lot, but somehow, some way, God still made it to where I had to lead a team full of 20 folks, and I still have to be able to communicate my ideas and make sure that that's fully understood so that we can do things successfully. So that was just a little bit of an insecurity that showed up, but I had to overcome. Wow. And now I communicate uniquely because, I want everyone to be able to relate to me, and I'm not trying to preach or teach or any of those things. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm impactful with that.
For me, it's a good question, actually. Got me over here thinking and in the beginning, early days of my childhood, it wasn't really preached on about marriage, although my grandparents have been married for over 60 years now. And it's a beautiful marriage, and we've seen it all. They've gone through a lot, but for us women in our family, it wasn't a big deal as long as our studies were in check, and we had degrees, and we had accolades, we had everything that was supposed to be in order for us to succeed alone. Yeah. So becoming a wife, it was a challenge for me to understand my footing, my steps, and where I belong in his arms, in his realm. Because a lot of my world had not had to be shut down, but it had to be shifted so I can fall in love with his world and become that wife. So for me, it was one of the biggest, I'm still working on it. It's not something that you just instantly become a wife. It's a journey inside that marriage that turns into a wife, and the husband that you have beside you that makes you a wife. The wife that he needs, the wife that he loves, the wife that projects everything that he needs and wants in life beside him.
That's amazing. Because, what a radical shift. I have to tell you, I felt very similar when I moved to LA. I felt like my world transitioned and I was finding my way in his world. And I think in finding myself in his world, I discovered me. And I think when marriage is done well, that the person you're with, you're not really, it feels like you're lost in their world, but it's really, hopefully, them creating an environment for you to discover yourself. And so I think in the process of trying to navigate what life was like being married to him, that I discovered me. And it reminds me of that quote where it's like a woman should be so lost in God that he has to seek him in order to find her. I feel like that a woman never loses herself in the man that God has given her. She just finds the version of herself that God created.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never got to answer the question about the greatest insecurity or your perceived imperfection turning out to be a blessing. And I definitely think that mine was feeling like I didn't fit in our world, didn't fit sometimes within our family culture. And I think to a certain extent I was right. But the reason why it has become my biggest blessing is because I believe God was showing me how he was going to have me in my own lane. And if I fit in there, then I wouldn't have decided to just be comfortable in my own lane. So if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, there are all of these different flaws connected with who I am. I have all of these different insecurities. And to be honest, one of the things I fear the most is that there is no lane, there is no purpose, there is no blessing connected to my current imperfection. I just want you to know that when scripture says his strength is made perfect and our weakness, that it is nothing but the truth. Because when we dare to allow our hope to be anchored in Jesus, that means that if there is something that the enemy meant for evil, if there is something that feels like an imperfection for me, it is only an opportunity for the hope of the Lord to show up in my life and reveal to me the way that God sees it. And so my prayer for you today and always is that you will begin to see your imperfections the way that God sees them, fearfully and wonderfully made, seed waiting to flourish, because that's the only way to go about life. What do you say?
You say you're beautiful, and you got pizza on your neck. And,
Imperfection.
imperfection.
There.
And I love it.
Is it in my teeth too?
A little bit.
That's all right.